Good afternoon, everybody. Madam Minister, Resident Coordinator, Mr. Bishop Parajuli, the General whose name I cannot quite remember, Cube, Commissioner for Refugees, welcome. I will not take too much of your time, except to say that I wish we were congregated here in better circumstances. Zimbabwe has really been badly affected by the cyclone. And this is one small way of contribution from the UN family to the people and government of Zimbabwe. We know that the needs are great. We will do our best to assist even with more, but for now, we have 80 tons of emergency supplies, including blankets, water jerry cans, mosquito nets, sleeping mats, tents, to respond to the difficulties my sisters and brothers in Zimbabwe are facing. I would like also to take this opportunity to thank Her Royal Highness Princess Haya of the United Arab Emirates, who has paid for the flight, this flight, which has met the entire cost of bringing the flight, the UNHCR's supplies to Zimbabwe. Without her, we would have been forced to ship it by sea, and it would have taken forever. So to them, I am grateful. To her, I am very, very grateful to her and the government of the UAE. I will stop there.
Thank you very much, Robert. Honorable Minister, Principal Director, General Dubey, Commissioner, my colleagues from UNHCR, UN system, and all the media. We are very humble as a part of the UN system to join the government of Zimbabwe in solidarity and in supporting in various ways this crisis which had just happened and hit very unfortunately Zimbabwe. A lot of people have lost their lives, many are missing. Our sincere, deep condolences to the families, to the relatives, and to the government of Zimbabwe. We, as a friend of Zimbabwe government, stand ready to support and join and commit to do the needful, to reaching out to the people with various needs at this very difficult time. Sadly, Zimbabwe is suffering together with the cyclone in a triple way. One, the issue of El Nino, climate change, drought. Second, some of the economic difficulties and crisis in a way to rebuild the future of the country. And now with this terrible cyclone which has taken many people's lives. So we appealed the international community for 234 million about 3 weeks ago as a result of economic crisis, as well as the El Nino drought. And now with this cyclone, we are building up a case for another flash appeal for about 62 million. And we are joining as a UN system in different way. I am very honored and very glad that UNHCR has jumped in with these big supplies, and so as many other UN agencies are also bringing food, vaccine, water purifying system, water sanitation facilities, as well as many civil society organizations are also involved helping. Indeed, this support, $500,000 is going to be meeting very urgent need for 10,000 people in the affected communities. As you heard from my colleague Robert, the UNHCR representative, and it consists of many basic items which are really, really needed right now. Therefore, the help coming in from the International Humanitarian City, in particular Princess Haya, who is a champion for humanitarian need and support. I've met her personally a number of times, and she's joining in the United Nations organizations with her personal commitment and support, and to advocate for the plight of the people. And we're very humble and extremely obliged and grateful for that. And in fact, this is extremely important and very timely help. There is ongoing delivery of various food, medicine, non-food items from Mutare to Chimanimani and other districts. In fact, I was there 3-4 days ago personally looking at it, and I was deeply saddened to see the houses being flattened with this terrible flooding, and a beautiful district is being converted, that beautiful village, into a rubble place, and very sad story. So indeed, we are appealing for increased international support, which is really necessary. I'm also very glad to see the Zimbabwe government has immediately put in a lot of funds and already working, clearing roads and etc. And that leadership is really important. And moreover, what is also extremely pleasing is every Zimbabwean have joined in to support the people in need, and that's really fantastic, because this is about humanity. This is about meeting the critical need. So on behalf of the UN system, I want to commit Honorable Minister. I've received a formal request from Minister of Finance on behalf of the government to mobilize support. I want to put my personal commitment to work on it, and as I said, to mobilize this support, we have put together various need aspects, and we'll be making a flash appeal, and immediately, hopefully next week, we bring $4 million of support from UN to meet and complement some of these immediate needs which are being done right now, to increase more tents, more non-food items, and other logistics needs to reach out to these people. So thank you very much, and I'm very humbled to join you and the government in this relief effort and support to the people of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much.
To the UNHCR country representative, Mr. Robert Tibago, to the country resident coordinator, Mr. Bisho Parajuli, a very close friend of Zimbabwe, to all government officials, and also to the media fraternity, I would like to thank you for being here. And I must also begin by saluting the General of the Army, because the Army and the Air Force, of course, did remarkable work in Chimanimani. I welcome you and I salute you. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to thank Princess Haya from the United Arab Emirates. Her generosity has clearly shown that Zimbabwe has got lots of friends. She personally, financially, is responsible for the arrival of this plane you just see outside there, that is full of so many goods that Mr. Parajuli has explained. And all these goods are in support of the victims of Cyclone Idai. Ladies and gentlemen, I was tasked by the President, together with 3 of my colleagues, the Chairman of the Civil Protection Society, Mr. July Moyo, and also Honorable Terence Shiri, who is the Minister of Agriculture, Water and Rural Resettlement, and Mr. Bigi Matiza, the Minister of Transport. We were asked to go the very next day after the Cyclone Idai attack. I call it attack because it was a vicious attack. We didn't know what to expect when we got to Mutare, but when we got there, that's when we realized how much of the infrastructure had been totally destroyed. And we also met the people who had been affected, and especially those who were in grief. And what has happened to us as a country in terms of the bereavement that's caused by the cyclone, it's a bereavement that we as a country were not expecting, nor did we ever visualize such grief. And as the Minister of Social Welfare, I'm also looking at the other aspect of psychosocial support. We have a lot of people in mourning. Apart from having lost the very livelihoods that sustain them, they're also in mourning. And as you know about the figures, I haven't got the figures today, but as of yesterday, my understanding was we had 182 people who had died. And we had over 300 people missing. That is a tragedy. And then we're looking at the destruction of bridges, schools, churches, the loss of livestock, basically the loss of everything that people owned. And for us as a country to be able to make inroads or to move forward, we are relying very much on the support of our friends, in particular the UN family. I'm also quite touched by the support today that is given to us, to our colleagues who are at Tongogara camp. I gather from Mr. Tibagwa that we've got about how many?
20,000, approximately 20,000.
Approximately 20,000 refugees are currently living in Zimbabwe, and they live in Tongogara camp in the Middle Sabi, and they were affected as well by the cyclone. So the gift that we are receiving today from the UN family through the UNHCR will go a long way in alleviating the pain of loss from the refugees at Tongogara camp. And I'm also very grateful that we do have this sense of commitment from our colleagues, and that us as a team that's been appointed by His Excellency President E.D. Mnangagwa are doing the best we can to be able to meet the basic needs of the people who've been affected. I also want to assure the UN family that as a government, we are committed to good governance, good corporate governance, and we will ensure that every single donation that's been given to us will be delivered to the point of need, to the most vulnerable people who deserve that support that we've got from our UN family. It is the aim and objective of the President that everything that's been donated to us is delivered through accountability and transparency. So we will ensure, together with my team in the Civic Protection Unity and my director, Mr. Soko, and also Mr. Tibagwa, that there will be absolute transparency in getting those goods to the right people. So in closing, I just once again to say thank you, Mr. Parajuli, for the work that you're doing in Zimbabwe, and not just with the cyclone Idai. I also want to thank you for the support that we are getting on food relief. Food relief through the El Nino effect. Yesterday we flew with with Honorable Chiwenga on the way to Chikomba East, which was also affected. And what we saw regarding the crop is total devastation. Not much is going to be harvested. And we will be relying once again on your support, and we know we will be able to get that support from you. So for that, I also want to thank you. So in closing, I just want to say a big tatenda. Thank you very much for that question. When I was in Mutare, and I was setting up together with Mr. Nkomo and Mr. Soko, we were setting up an accountability mechanism system whereby we will receive the goods, and they're recorded both by the CPU and also recorded by us in the Ministry of Social Welfare, and also recorded by the warehouse. We got a warehouse, a holding place from World Vision in Mutare. When that's been recorded in 3 times, our challenge, and I need to mention this, our challenge was to move from the warehouse to get the point of need, to ensure that there is security on the way. And given that our roads are still very much a challenge, so we have worked now through that system to ensure that each time food or goods are dispatched from the warehouse, we have security to get to the nearest point of need. And it's clearly documented. Now, regarding the reports that have been in the paper that it has not been as transparently as we would like to be, challenges do happen. And our role is to ensure that when there is a challenge, we do address that challenge. So I don't have any facts on exactly what happened, but what I will ensure to do is to make sure that there's absolute transparency in the delivery of goods.
Thank you very much for that very important question regarding the effects of the cyclone on the Tongongara refugee camp. When the cyclone hit, approximately 1,060 houses were affected in various stages. Some were completely demolished. Some sustained structural damage. Some were flooded. But when we did the multifunctional team assessment, we found that 1,060 houses were affected, and that affected approximately 5,300 people. The second thing that was affected was the water and sanitation infrastructure. Boreholes were flooded, so that has resulted in a shortage of clean drinking water. Latrines were sunk or were flooded. That has resulted in serious contamination of some of the water systems. We have already taken action on reconstructing latrines, and we have got supplies to support those who do not have proper shelter. We have got supplies from Zambia. Actually, they have arrived today directly for the camp. This consignment is for Zimbabweans, where the help assistance to refugees is also going on at the same time, but in a separate truck. This entire consignment that you see here, 80 tons, is going to Zimbabweans, while at the same time we are assisting refugees recover.
I know I arrived a bit late, but I've been briefed fully by the senior officials from the Ministry of Local Government that we have received a huge consignment of assistance that is going towards the Idai cyclone victims in Chimanimani. Not only that, but also that we have received assistance towards our refugees at Tongogara. We want to thank you very much for this assistance. We have been in Chimanimani and we have seen the UN family in action, making the burden that has befell us as a nation lighter. We want to assure you that the assistance that you have delivered today shall be delivered in a transparent manner, and that we will ensure that the people that are supposed to benefit are those people that benefit. We know that we've also had challenges in terms of the political machinations that you've heard spoken about, but we want to assure you that the government of Zimbabwe is in control, and that the various ministries and the various agencies, together with development partners, together with our regional partners, our international partners, we are in action to make sure that this goes on smoothly, so that we can at least return a bit of normalcy, some resemblance of life to the people of Chimanimani. We continue to be grateful to you for all the assistance that you have given us. It was something that came as a catastrophe. We were not prepared for that catastrophe, but because you came on board as the UN family, you made it easy for us. We shall forever be indebted to you. Thank you.
Much has been said, but I just want to add one more thing. You know, the damage and destruction by cyclone Era has been enormous. In Mozambique, Malawi, and in Zimbabwe, the UN Secretary General himself has appealed to the international community that there is a much more need to be done to help these countries and people. Indeed, a lot of destruction of roads, bridges, schools, health facilities have been destroyed. Electric poles have been damaged. The sanitary system, the water system have been destroyed. And there's a lot of work needed to rebuild these infrastructure. People's houses have been completely damaged. Now we're putting on a temporary structure, but we need to help them to be in a proper place, proper houses, and we also need to build back better. So these infrastructure addresses the future, any eventual catastrophe or situation like this. The climate change is in action. This is the unfortunate situation we have witnessed in these three countries as a result of these climate changes. And my plea to the international community is Zimbabwe needs help. Please support, join UN system, and contribute to help the people of Zimbabwe to rebuild themselves and to meet immediate need. And we are going to be issuing a flash appeal for $62 million to meet the various needs, the food, the shelter, the medicine, and various non-food items to accommodate these people, and so join us to support Zimbabwe and Zimbabwean people. Thank you very much indeed.